It's rarely the one giant purchase that breaks the bank, is it? It's that drip feed, a few dollars here, subscription there. And as we're seeing in the material today, those small bills, they don't just add up.
No, they compound. They compound into this low-grade anxiety.
Exactly.
And that anxiety, it almost always comes from not having a clear picture. So today, we're stripping financial planning back to basics.
Yeah.
No complex theories, just the fundamental mechanics of your own cash flow. The whole mission is simple. Regain control by getting rid of the unknown.
And that starts with an audit. The core idea here isn't really budgeting in the scary sense.
No, it's about total transparency with yourself.
So the first step is just the list. And we're not talking about a rough guess in your head.
Right, because the guide argues that we all have this massive blind spot for what it calls lifestyle creep. It's not the mortgage or the rent that usually sinks the ship. We all know those numbers by heart.
You have to.
It's that silent buildup of the small bills category. Utilities, your phone, that super fast internet you upgraded to.
It's stuff that's automated, so you kind of set it and forget it.
Exactly. But the insight here is you just can't manage what you don't measure.
Right.
So once you've pinned down those fixed costs, you have to turn to the area where most plans, they actually fall apart.
The variable items?
This is the friction point.
Yeah.
Your variable costs like fuel, groceries, gifts, they're just harder to pin down because they fluctuate.
But fluctuating isn't an excuse for ignoring.
No, and gifts are the perfect example of this.
Oh, absolutely.
We tend to treat a birthday gift or a holiday present like it's some kind of unexpected emergency.
Which is just absurd when you think about it.
It's completely absurd. Birthdays happen on the same day every single year.
Yeah.
They aren't surprises, they're just irregular.
Right.
And the material is really clear on this. If you aren't averaging these costs out and putting them on the list right next to your rent, you are fundamentally lying to yourself about your cost of living.
So you list the fixed, you do your best to estimate the variable, and then you do the math.
And then you do the math.
You add it all up to see the monster on the page.
And once that total is just staring you in the face, there's usually a moment of, shock.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
But that shock is useful. It forces the very next step, which is the reality check.
Comparing it against what you actually bring in.
Against your actual income.
Yeah.
You need to see the cold, hard margin between the two.
And for a lot of people, that margin can be razor thin. If the gap between what's coming in and what's going out is tiny, you're in a really vulnerable spot.
You're living in a danger zone. If that gap is small, you have zero resilience, absolutely none. Any bit of bad luck can knock you over. So the advice here is strict. You have to manufacture breathing room. You have to ruthlessly cut the optional spending.
And you're not just cutting back to save, you're cutting back to buy safety.
That's it. That's the buffer they mentioned in the material.
Right.
A small buffer is the difference between a minor inconvenience and a full-blown financial crisis. If you lower that optional spending, you create the space for that buffer to exist.
And it stops the cycle.
It stops the cycle of reacting to expenses and lets you start anticipating them.
So at the end of the day, it really all boils down to one simple physical action.
One action.
You need to write one single list. Not a note on your phone, not 5 sticky notes.
Pen on paper. One list. It sounds almost too simple to work, but the physical act of writing it down forces you to finally acknowledge the reality of your finances.
It turns the unknown into the known. And that's where the stress just disappears.
Because you can't fight an enemy you can't see.
It really forces a tough question, doesn't it? If you
Okay.
aren't writing it down, are you actually managing your life, or are you just hoping for the best?
And in finance, hope is not a strategy.
Thanks for listening.